Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for being with us this morning. I'll make a few remarks. I want to thank the Mayor for being with us, and of course, Mo Smith, who's here with us, MLA for the County of Antigonish, riding of Antigonish. I wanted to be here in the community of Port Hawkesbury this morning to reassure the people and their families that work continues and will continue to have a new start for NewPage. The province committed to doing everything within reason to get the mill sold, and we're living up to that commitment. Part of that commitment was to maintain the operation of the mill and to keep the supply chain intact. Today, the province is investing an additional $15.8 million to maintain the hot idle for 6 more months. This is a necessary step to keep the mill attractive to a potential buyer. As well, the province is investing $12 million in the Forestry Infrastructure Fund. This investment is an investment in the community that will help keep 300 people working and should ease some pressure for local contractors as the sale negotiations continue. I want people to know that we will stand by this community. We know how much you've sacrificed, and we're doing everything possible to ensure a sustainable future for the people, for the community, and of course for the mill. As many are aware, the progress is moving in the right direction. We should all remain optimistic that there are better days ahead for the people of Port Hawkesbury. So those are the few remarks that I wanted to make, and really this is about making myself available to talk to you about this. I would point out that $12 million I pointed to is the number for the infrastructure fund. We expect to recover about $3 million of that through the wood itself, so it's net $9 million to the taxpayers, and that is 9 of the 15.8, which is the total package for the hot idle. The mill will continue to have access to the previous commitment that was made by the previous government, which is a $10 million line of credit, or a $10 million facility that they will take advantage of, I'm sure, in order to keep the mill operating.
Mr. Premier, did you check with the parties, I know the unions in negotiations, the power companies in negotiations? Have you checked with those parties to make sure that this investment is going to be worthwhile in the long run? You know, that this is going to become a new operation under current partner?
Oh yeah, no, we're of course constantly in communication with all the parties. We're constantly in communication with Stern, with the potential operator. We're very optimistic that this will end with a deal that will allow this mill to operate over the long term, and that's what we want. What we want is we don't want to be in the business of subsidizing a mill that's not going to be sustainable. What we want to do is to ensure that the mill is there as an asset, so that when a new operator comes along for the long term, that we have a business, that we have an industry that's going to be here for decades to come. And that means that they have to address their question of cost. That means that they have to be able to see their way toward making a profit, if not directly in the short term, over the medium and long term. So that's where we are. This has to be an industry for the future, not one for the past.
The timeline that's been outlined is till the end of September. Is that how long you expect the sales process to take now?
Well, this money is going to be in place to cover that time period. You know, as I say, we're optimistic about the potential for a deal. How long that will take, we still don't know. But we're putting this facility in place till then. Of course, we'd all very much like to have it resolved sooner than that, and that would be a good thing, both from the investment we're making and for the people of the community. But we're putting this in place in order to be able to cover that period of time. And you know, I invite people to look at the alternative, because the alternative to this If we weren't here today, and if we weren't in a position to be able to negotiate successfully and optimistically with Stern, then that mill would be in teardown right now, and it would be loaded on the trucks and taken to Ohio or Duluth or somewhere else. So, you know, this is the time for people to understand where it is that we stand. We stand with this community, with the workers, with the people of Port Hawkesbury to support an industry and long-term jobs in this region. And that was the commitment that I made some months ago. It's a commitment I remake today. And as I say, the alternative is undesirable.
What's the status of talks between Stern Partners and the province regarding fiber?
It's on an ongoing basis. As you understand, what happens is things take place in a kind of staged way, because you can only go so far until they resolve the other questions, and all of this is about the various pieces of the cost structure they have. So you have to kind of do them a bit at a time. What I can say about this, about Stern as a potential operator, is that they have been very, very clear. They have gone through every piece of the puzzle. They are committed if they are going to be the operator, they're going to be there because they believe they can be a long-term operator of the mill. They have satisfied themselves that the cost structure is such that they're going to be able to continue to operate it over the long term. If you're in our position, or if you're in the position of this community, that's what you want. You want to know that there's not somebody who's coming along because they can squeeze a subsidy out of the government for a few years to keep an industry limping along. It's not what you want. What you want is somebody who's coming in to say, we want to purchase this mill because we see a future for it. And that's why I'm optimistic about the approach that has been taken by Stern in these negotiations. And you know, we're not finished yet. You know, we are, I say, hopeful and optimistic.
So the new money today, is it $5 million today for the mill and up to 9 for the forestry?
It's 5.8 for the hot idle, and a net of 9 that will go into the forestry, and that's to cover that period of time. And as I say, if things happen to get resolved before that, then that number can come down. And over the last little while, as we've made these allocations, we've actually run kind of ahead of them, so we haven't used all of the facility necessarily that we put in place. So this is, you know, we want to be cautious about it, make sure it's there, so we're not coming back to you again in a few months and saying we're extending this. We want to give it a reasonable period of time to be resolved.
I guess
Mr. Premier, I was just going to, if I may, just be allowed for a moment. The question was asked about fiber. As you know, we were importing 40% of the wood the past 5 years from Anacostia Island, Quebec, PEI, and New Brunswick. And the wood would be necessary to have here. And also that the mill itself, we've been going on now for 8 months, and I want to make very clear that the mayors and the wardens, in particular in the Strait area, are very pleased about and have a confidence in what the government's been doing and working with your staff. We as a community would like to thank you for your effort, for stepping forward. This mill affects 6,000 people in eastern Nova Scotia, and you've recognized that. And the help we've received has been tremendous. So we look forward to the mill opening and the success of it. But this company is coming in, and I've met with them several times. They want to be here for the long haul. And we thank you for your commitment. Thank you.
So to answer your question, a lot of the activities in the last few months have been a shift from the traditional spruce fir pulpwood coming into Hawkesbury to a mixture of other products such as fuel wood, red pine going to Ledwidge Lumber. There's about 20 different companies that have been receiving wood, but the focus of what's been cut has shifted.
Yeah, but aren't they taking a lot of that now, turning it into lumber, but you're going to be wanting to reship that stuff now and put it through a paper machine?
There's certainly going to be the resumption with Stern operating of, again, spruce fir pulpwood, but there's still the ability to do what we have been doing in terms of hardwood saw logs to mills that are looking for that kind of product.
So I'd like just to clarify, and this might seem a bit of a simple question, but is Stern going to be offered similar access to fiber rights as NewPage was?
Those things are still part of the negotiations that are ongoing. They need a fiber supply. I mean, I think it's logical to assume that there will be some arrangement reached with respect to the manner in which that access takes place. Whether it's done as it has been done in the past or in some new form is, I think, part of what we're continuing to look at.
I think the main question in a lot of people's minds is when they can expect to get back to work. I guess if assuming that Stern is able to work out an agreement with the union, Nova Scotia Power, and the Crown over the leases, when realistically...
We don't have control of that process.
No.
As you know, this is a creditor protection process that's being conducted through the courts, and so they have to go through that process. It means that things like the Utility Review Board hearing, it means things like negotiations with the union have to be completed. All of that, including any arrangement that we might make, have to come back to the administrator and be sanctioned. So that process is not necessarily within our control. So we're working on what we think are reasonable timelines. Obviously, we try to put in place a facility to be able to continue to operate the mill at the level that it needs to operate, to continue the forestry infrastructure support that will cover what we consider to be a reasonable period of time to allow that to happen.
Are we looking at September, though? Possibly now?
This covers through to September, and like I said, we're optimistic, we're hopeful that we'll be able to get it done maybe a bit faster than that, but we put this in place to cover that period so that it would be a cautious position. And as I pointed out, and it will be pointed out in the release that you have, there are literally hundreds of jobs here. This should not be lost over the next number of months that are maintained as a result of the fact that the forestry operations continue and the mill continues in a hot idle position. So this is not a cheap process. It is something that if you're going to sell the asset, then you have to have it in a certain state in order for somebody to buy it. So this is a necessity.
But do you maintain the fact that the province is not interested in replenishing the
I wouldn't put it as
deficiency of the...
I wouldn't put it as not interested. It's just not, we're not in a position to be able to do that, as you know. It is an unfortunate fact of life that there are many pension funds that are not solvent, and that creates hardship. And what we need to do, though, is we need to let this process go through. And I know that from the union's perspective, that these are their former members, and this is something that they're trying to deal with as they look at their negotiations with potential new operators.